All right, the so-called tolerant left, well, they're taking its unhinged hatred of the president now to a brand new low. Kathy Griffin is only the latest offender. Now, the so-called comedian is now facing an intense backlash for a very disturbing photo shoot. We have to warn you, what we're about to show you is graphic. Now, here's Griffin posting with a bloody, severed head. It is supposed to be President Trump. Now, Griffin apparently thought that that's funny, but then quickly apologized after realizing that her actions were completely inappropriate and, by the way, more than crossed a line, and some even suggesting maybe legal issues are in play. Earlier today, CNN announced that it has canceled its agreement with Griffin to co-host the network's New Year's Eve coverage with Anderson Cooper, and President Trump and the First Lady, they responded to this awful attempt at humor by attacking the president. The president tweeted, quote, "Kathy Griffin should be ashamed of herself. My children, especially my 11-year-old son, Barron, are having a very hard time with this. Sick." The First Lady, Melania Trump, put out a statement reading, quote, "As a mother, a wife, a human being, this photo is very disturbing when you consider some of the atrocities that are happening in the world today." Now, a photo opportunity like this is simply wrong. It makes you wonder about the mental health of the person who would do this. Now, what's most disturbing about all of this is reaction from the president and the First Lady's 11-year-old son, Barron. Now, according to TMZ, well, Barron Trump was actually watching television when he first saw this disgusting image and thought it was real of his father. Now, to be fair, some in the media, they did realize that what Kathy Griffin did here was wrong, and some spoke out against it, because these types of attacks against the president, it is so disgusting and despicable. It has no place. But, of course, still plenty of others, well, they tried to defend it and laugh it off and even mock the idea that people would be upset about this. For example, look at the headline from Mediaite, "Not worth doing." Oh, Morning Joe laughs off Kathy Griffin's story before moving on to the Covfefe analysis. And here's the clip.
I missed the Kathy Griffin news last night.
Okay, I'm not talking about it.
You missed nothing up.
Okay.
Michael, you can't eat, though, to be clear. You should eat.
Yeah, you probably.
Now, Joe and these other people, they're just despicable. They're pathetic. And it's exactly what you would expect from MSNBC, where it's all tinfoil hat conspiracy all the time. And then there's CNN. Take a look at this headline. Molly Ball can't care. Trump family just playing victim with beheading photo. And here's the video.
I have a hard time bringing myself to care about something like this. I think it just speaks to the need to see themselves as a victim that they have, that they're constantly being persecuted. It's constantly...
The Trumps you're talking about.
The Trump people are constantly having to point to the elites who are looking down on them. Of course, like, comedians and celebrities say dumb stuff and do dumb stuff, and violence is not appropriate. But I just don't think that that's the source of President Trump's problems.
Really? An ISIS-like holding up a severed head and an 11-year-old kid seeing it? And then there's Senator Compassion himself, Al Franken. Well, he said, okay, Griffin crossed the line and made a horrible mistake, but he accepts apologies, and he's still standing by her. Look at this headline. Senator Franken still plans to appear with Kathy Griffin after outcry over photo shoot. And listen to what he said.
Can she recover from this?
Well, I think she did the right thing. I think asking for forgiveness and acknowledging that this was a horrible mistake, and so I think she can.
And you're still going to appear with her?
Yes.
Yeah, he accepts apologies, except if you're a conservative like Rush Limbaugh. Here's my take on this, and there's a deeper story going on. This latest despicable display, in this case Kathy Griffin, it's only the latest example in a long list of attacks that the left has launched against the president, and specifically against members of his family, his wife, his daughter, his 11-year-old son. Now, as we often show you, liberals and the Destroy Trump media viciously wake up, go after President Trump day after day, night after night, pushing all of their bizarre conspiracy theories, launching all kinds of vile personal attacks. But it goes much deeper than that. The left knows no boundaries when it comes to the president's family. Now, they've gone after the First Lady, Melania Trump. They've gone after all the children, Ivanka, Don Jr., Eric, Tiffany, and their spouses, and, of course, the president's 11-year-old son, Barron. And you can criticize the president, frankly, all you want. Fair game, although some of it has been sick and obsessive and bizarrely, breathlessly, conspiratorial. But really, an 11-year-old kid, does this not expose a massive double standard when it comes to the left? 9 times out of 10, they can cross the line. And they don't face any consequences. There's no outrage. There's no backlash. Conservatives don't say they need to be fired and boycotted. They're allowed to do and say whatever they want, whenever they want, especially when it comes to smearing and attacking conservatives, which is probably why Kathy Griffin thought it was okay to do that in the first place. Now, coming up later tonight, we're going to have much more on this effort to call out the double standard and the attacks against me and the boycotts against me and the efforts to silence conservatives and liberal fascism, and Brian Maloney and Melanie Morgan, who created the Media Equality Project to fight back against these efforts to silence conservative voices. They will be here to explain that they're just getting started. They're giving a preview of what's coming in the weeks ahead. But first, let me show you just a couple examples of what I'm talking about. NBC is supposed to be a news organization, NBC News, with Tom Brokaw and Brian Williams, etc., right? Remember all of that? John Chancellor. Well, NBC's Rachel Maddow, one of the worst offenders when it comes to pushing. As a matter of fact, she is the champion of pushing unhinged, bizarre conspiracy theories. Now, here's her back in 2010 trying to explain away then Congressman Anthony Weiner's graphic, lewd tweet, making excuses for little Anthony.
If the congressman was hacked, as he said he was, if he was pranked, how would that work? How could a person do that? What would that look like? The Daily Kos writer looks at the image of the congressman's Twitter account more closely, and judging from the pixelization of the images and some other visual clues, he concludes that the damage was a composite, saved a number of times, indicating it had been photoshopped. For a theory with fewer steps, a number of other blogs have different versions of a theory of a potential hacking that looks at the information embedded in this controversial picture. A third, but by no means final theory, has to do with the photo sharing service that I was talking about earlier, YFrog. It's not all that hard to generate a program that would try every possible combination using your Twitter name until you got the right email address to use this service to post pictures.
NBC News. And of course, there was also the time that Maddow theorized the Republicans may be pushing assassinations in an actual political tactic that they're using. Really? What's this?
Has enough kerosene been poured on the flames that the possibility of violence, even assassination, is being posited as a real political tactic in the United States?
Now, as we were able to show you last night, these examples is barely scratching the surface when it comes to the crazy, insane, conspiratorial things that have been said over at NBC News and Rachel Maddow's program. And also tonight, failed Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. She continues to lead the way in pushing these conspiracy theories about why she lost the election. Earlier today, during an interview at a tech conference, she gave a very long list of excuses, blaming everybody but herself. What's this?
The use of my email account was turned into, the biggest scandal since Lord knows when. This was the biggest nothing burger ever. It was a mistake. I've said it was a mistake. I know you had Dean Baquet here from the New York Times yesterday, and they covered it like it was Pearl Harbor. The Russians, in my opinion, and based on the intel and counter-intel people I've talked to, could not have known how best to weaponize that information unless they had been guided. And here's
guided by Americans.
Guided by Americans and guided by people who had polling and data information. I never said I was a perfect candidate, and I certainly have never said I ran perfect campaigns, but I don't know who is or did. And at some point, it sort of bleeds over into misogyny.
By the way, 5 foreign intelligence agencies got a hold of top secret information and special access program information because she had a computer server that she shouldn't have had in a mom and pop shop bathroom closet. And Hillary, there's no evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians. And we can't forget that Hillary's been pushing other bizarre conspiracy theories for years. Remember, she blamed all of her husband's problems on the vast right-wing conspiracy.